begin our time together today, I invite you to take a moment to gently connect with yourself. Let's ground into the present moment, making space for whatever emotions or sensations that may arise during the session. So start by finding yourself into a comfortable position, relax your shoulders, soften your jaw, and if it feels comfortable, you can allow your eyes to gently close. You can keep them open if you want. And take a deep, slow breath in through your nose and slowly exhale from your mouth, releasing any tension you may be holding. Now let your breathing find its own natural rhythm. And with every inhale, invite in a sense of calm, and with every exhale, feel yourself letting go of tension, expectations, or any other chatter that would have followed you here today. So take a couple of breaths. And as you continue breathing, shift your attention to your body. Notice how it feels to sit or be here. Feet grounded beneath you, the gentle rise and fall of your chest as you breathe, and feeling the air on your skin. Now gently invite your awareness inwards. Notice any thoughts, emotions, or physical sensation that you may be experiencing now. There's no need to change or fix anything. Just simply allow these experiences to be here as they are, meeting them with curiosity and compassion if possible. As we prepare to explore grief and heartache, know that it's okay to feel vulnerable. This is a safe place. These emotions are testament to the depth of your love and connection. And with every inhale now, breathe in kindness towards yourself. And with every exhale, release any tension, fear, or judgments you may be holding on. Now take a moment to acknowledge your intention for being here today. Perhaps you are here seeking healing, insight, or simply space to be. Whatever brought you here, know that your presence matters. You're deserving of this time for self-care and reflection. Now with every breath, invite warmth, compassion to your heart, and allow yourself to rest in the knowledge that you are worthy of healing, worthy of love, worthy of peace. Take a final deep breath in, and as you slowly exhale, let yourself settle into a state of openness and readiness. And whenever you feel ready, you can just simply begin to open your eyes, and we can begin our session together now. So the session today is Healing Heartache and Grief, Navigating Loss with Compassion. This actually comes from the feedback that you gave. So what we'll do is we'll go a little bit deeper into understanding what is grief and how grief has this emotional complexity behind it. We'll get into the role of self-compassion and emotional awareness that plays into healing from grief. And then, of course, we'll get into how do we move forward using the context of IFS, and then we'll get into IFS session itself. And if you're new, don't worry, you'll be guided, so just stay on. And then afterward, if you have time enough, we will then get into sound healing using tuning forks. And then at the end of the hour, we'll open up for any Q&A that would be happening, okay? For any needs, questions, or going deeper. Let's go. So let's start by understanding grief and its emotional complexity. So grief is not limited to sorrow or sadness. It actually encompasses a whole range of emotions such as anger, guilt, confusion, longing. Whether it's loss of a loved one, a breakup, or a death of a close person or family member, grief reflects the depth of our connection and the emotional investment in those relationships. So I work with many clients, and grief is one of the expression that comes up. Give you an example. I worked recently with, we'll call her Tina, who actually lost her partner of 7 years to cancer. And she has emotion linked to loss of the loved one, for sure, and a heartache, which often comes as tears, but actually as anxiety, irritability, anger, and that showing that how grief manifests differently for different people. Now, grief is a process of reconnection with authenticity. So loss forces us to reflect on our relationship with the person or the life we had, often revealing parts of ourselves we may have disconnected from. So Gabor Mate was very good in this, and he says grief can serve as a gateway back to authenticity by breaking the patterns of emotional suppression we tend to develop to cope up with life's pain. So the grief just brings it up for us. Now, in case of Tina, she found that grieving her childhood losses, for example, she was unseen by a father, allowed her to reconnect with her true desires, such as pursuing her. She has a very creative career, but she got distracted from that, rather than to continue to live according to expectation imposed by others. So that's what it does. So healing doesn't mean we are erasing pain. It actually means integrating it. The goal of healing is not to eliminate pain, but to integrate it into our life. Resilience involves making space for grief while learning to live meaningful in its presence. Mate emphasizes that avoiding grief can lead to emotional numbness or depression, but engaging with it helps us to grow. And grieving can help individuals build their inner resilience by accepting that the loss is part of life, not a deviation from it. And healing occurs when we stop resisting the emotion tied to grief and instead to allow them to cope our journey forward. For Tina, she learned that instead of avoiding feeling the heartache of the loss, allowing her the awareness of knowing what she had gone through gave her insight into how she wanted to live life differently, which is emphasizing on freedom instead of fear. Now, how does the role of self-compassion and emotional wellness play in dealing with grief? Now, grief requires more than just endurance. It demands compassion. When we experience loss, there is often an internal struggle. Part of us grieves deeply, where another part may feel we should move on quickly. And self-compassion means that it allows us to feel whatever comes up. In the case of Tina, during our session, she felt guilty for being unable to focus at work after a personal loss. By engaging with the self-compassion, she began to recognize that her distraction was not a failure, but was a natural response to grief, which was unresolved for her. Now, suppressing grief leads to emotional disconnection. Gabor Mate, he teaches suppressing grief almost can disconnect us from our authentic self. When we judge ourselves for feeling weak or broken, we add another layer of emotional pain. And self-compassion restores this connection by giving permission to feel that without shame. Now, emotional awareness, so self-compassion is foundation for emotional awareness. And emotional awareness means being able to notice and name our feelings in the moment, which is crucial part of healing. And self-compassion makes this process possible by creating a safe internal space where emotions can surface without fear of judgment. And this is what we are actually going to practice today. And this awareness helps prevent emotional suppression, which then can actually prolong or complicate grief. And self-compassion promotes resilience and integration. When we treat ourselves with compassion during grief, we develop resilience, not by avoiding pain, by learning to live with it. Now, healing occurs when we integrate grief into our lives, allowing it to coexist with joy, hope, and love. In Tina's case, she showed grief, but it didn't have to be an obstacle to her goals. She was blocking her entire career. And by extending compassion towards herself, she found a way to honor her emotions while starting to move on with her professional life. She had completely blocked herself professionally. So self-compassion is essential in dealing with grief. Now, how does IFS come into that? Now, in the context of IFS, if we understand the internal conflict in grief and heartbreak, then it can help us to move forward. So whether we are dealing with the death of a loved one or an end of a relationship, we have conflicting emotions like anger and denial frequently that come up. Anger can take the form of resentment towards the person we lost, bring ourselves, or in the case of somebody dying, the doctors or the medical system, or even start to fantasize of what-if scenarios. Now, denial, on the other hand, serves to protect us from feeling overwhelmed emotions by clinging to hope, perhaps hoping that the person will return or refusing to believe that they are truly gone. Tina, she wrestled with conflicted emotions after her partner of 7 years passed on. Part of her felt furious with her ex leaving her this way, and anger was also directed to the doctors and the fate, and denial as an ability was for her was an inability to believe that the loss has happened, so she would deny that. So how IFS helps identify and work with these conflicting parts? In IFS, internal family system, these emotions are seen as parts of ourselves, each with its own role and intention. The angry part demands recognition of the pain, seeking confrontation, while the part in denial avoids emotional overwhelm by keeping hope alive. Both parts are ultimately trying to protect us, but end up working against each other, and that creates inner conflict. When I was working with Tina, we invited both the angry one, which was angry at the hospital, at the doctors, and at him having left her, and then the denial parts into dialogue. Her angry part expressed frustration, demanding validation for the betrayal she felt. And the denial part admitted it feared she would never find love again, which explains its reluctance, because it was very reluctant to let go of the relationship. Now, in case of loss through death, these dynamics occur. Anger might demand justice or answers, while denial tries to block the reality of the loss from sinking in. So how do we resolve this? Okay? So instead of suppressing or ignoring these parts or these emotions, IFS encourages us to approach them with compassion and curiosity. And when we ask these parts what they need and what the fears are, or since when they have been carrying this, they begin to feel heard. And this process helps us to understand that the anger is often masked for deeper hurt, while denial shields us from fear of abandonment or despair. With Tina, once both parts felt heard, they no longer dominated her emotional state. She realized her anger wasn't just about betrayal, it was actually also reflected the sadness felt the kindness she may never experience again. Her partner was deeply kind. And the denial part, once validated, loosened his grips, allowing her to accept the death and move forward. So the integration is once these parts relax, our core self, the calm, compassionate inner leader, can step in to guide. And this self-led state fosters acceptance, new insight, and helps to integrate the pain of the loss without being overwhelmed by it. So IFS offers this powerful way to resolve inner conflict by engaging with each part. And this is what we are going to do today and practice together and see where it takes you. And so what I would like you to do, which is the 2 questions I send you, okay, is to now go deep inside within you and think of a specific moment when your loss felt overwhelming and what emotions did you feel? If you had a loss, it can be any kind of loss. And when you think about the loss, what do you feel occasionally? And then think of another question is, do you notice any part of you trying to distract or minimize or avoid the pain? So just take notice, take a couple of moments. If you want to write it down, you do that. Okay, let's go then. So just take a moment, and if you got those 2 objects that I asked you to bring, so just any 2 objects, one of them put it on your right side, or near your right hand, another one on the left side, and just see if you can be in a comfortable, peaceful spot. And just see if your posture promotes relaxation. And you can keep a pencil and paper nearby to capture insights that may arise. Now take a few deep breaths to center yourself. Inhale through your nose, drawing in calm and clarity, and exhale through your mouth, releasing any tension or anxiety you may be carrying. Now let's take a couple of breaths. That brings you into this space. Now visualize yourself in a safe space. It can be a memory, a person, or a place that brings you comfort and protection, sense of safety. It can be a memory, it can be a person, or a place that brings you sense of safety, comfort, and protection. Just visualize that place. This is your sanctuary where you feel secure enough to explore your inner world. Let this safe space support you as you go deeper into your inner dialogue. Now bring to mind the significant loss that you have. Whether it's passing of a loved one or end of a relationship, any loss that comes in. And picture yourself in that moment. And you would notice the sense of being overwhelmed that feels full weight of the loss. And then you may also feel there's a part of you that denies or minimizes it and struggling to accept the reality of the situation. So see if you can shift your focus to the part of you that feels burdened and overwhelmed by the loss. Tune into any sensation in your body, perhaps some heaviness. Or if you see an image that may emerge, just focus on that. And hold the object in your left hand and ask it to represent this part of you that feels overwhelmed by the loss. So just hold it in your left hand. Again, you can say, well, you represent the part of me that represents the overwhelming feeling that I have with the loss. And just be curious. Curious to understand more. Why does this part feel so overwhelmed? What is it carrying? If other thoughts starts to come in that can be judgmental or otherwise, ask them gently to step away in a waiting room so that it creates space for you to engage with this part that feels overwhelmed with the loss. So you can just ask it to just step away gently and so that you can focus on the part of you that feels overwhelmed with the loss. Keep an attitude of gentle curiosity as you explore. Start by asking a question to the left side, left object in your left hand. Say, I'm curious to know, what is your intention for me? What do you want for me? And see what you hear. And explore further and ask, I'm curious to know, what are you afraid will happen to me? Stay curious. Explore further and ask, okay, if that happens, what are you afraid will happen then? What is your biggest fear for me? And see what you hear. Stay curious. So what you heard is that what is it trying to protect you from? And see if you can feel compassion for it, acknowledge it. So I understand what you're trying to protect me from. And just acknowledge and stay compassionate. And now ask a question. I'm curious to know how you impact my day-to-day life carrying these feelings. How do you impact my day-to-day life? Interaction with people, interaction with the world. See what you hear. Now, see if you can ask with compassion and curiosity, when did you start protecting me this way? How old was I when you started to play this role in my life? What was going on at that time? So you may hear an age, and you may also be shown what was going on in your life that time. Stay compassionate. Notice how you feel towards this part in your left hand. Can you sense some compassion for it? And see if you can acknowledge it and thank this part for its effort to protect you. And ask it if it can name itself, any name. There's no judgment on the name that comes up. Ask it, how can I call you so that I can connect with you later? And notice the name you are told. Now gently invite it to step back now and allow to create space for the other part to speak up. Yeah, take a breath and see if you can now shift your attention to the part of you that tries to deny or minimize the loss, hoping to avoid pain. Tune into that sensation in your body, or if you see an image, focus on that. And hold the object in your right hand to represent this part. And just breathe into it with curiosity. What is this part trying to avoid? Be curious. If other thoughts start to come in that can feel like judgment or otherwise, just gently ask, them to step away into waiting room so that it creates space for you to engage with this part in denial. See if you can keep a compassionate mindset, at least curiosity, as you explore. And ask a question to your right side, right hand. I'm curious to know what is your intention for me, and see what you hear. What do you want from me? Now, ask a follow-up question. I'm curious to know, what are you afraid will happen if I accept this loss? What are your fears? And see what you hear. Be curious still and ask follow-up questions saying, what is your biggest fear from me? And see if you can be compassionate towards it as you hear what is trying to protect you. And ask compassionately, how have you impacted my life? How do you impact my life, day-to-day life? And see if that makes sense, and just acknowledge it. And ask the question, when did you start protecting me this way? How old was I? And what was going on then? And see if you can stay compassionate as you hear that. What was going on then? How old was I? Just notice how you feel towards this part. Can you appreciate its protective nature and acknowledge it? Feel compassion for it. And ask it, if it can name itself, so you can engage with it later. Now see if you can invite both parts, the one in your right hand, the one in the left hand, the one that was overwhelmed and the one which was in denial. And I invite them both into having dialogue. Hold both objects in the hand as a symbol of these parts and ask to the one in your left, overwhelmed part, to share its feeling and concerns, and then let the part in desire express its fears. And just have them, encourage them to find a common ground. Help them to see that they both want to protect you and they can work together. So take a moment. And ask to both of them what they need to feel safer and more balanced moving forward. So ask the one on the right and on the right, saying, what do they need to feel safer and more balanced moving forward? Thank both parts for being present and for the roles they play in your life. And see if you can take a moment to share your vision for yourself going forward. Thank them both. And hold yourself in compassion and love as you hold these two parts. Know that you are brave and that you can do it. Let them know that the dialogue can continue as it needed. They are always welcome in your inner world. And when that feels complete, start to come back. And now allow your body to do what it wants. You can get up, walk, shake, do what you want. Allow your body to do what it needs as you prepare for the tuning forks. Okay, so we will continue with the sound healing. So if you're new, just for you to know that we use tuning forks to work on our on this torus, the electromagnetic field, which holds frequencies, but it also holds what has happened to you in your life in form of distortions. And so what we do with tuning forks is you open the channel from the below the feet, so grounding toward the earth, and opening the channel to the top of your head, connecting you to the heavens above, okay, so that you are become a channel of being able to receive with ease, okay. And then, so we use tuning forks to do that in the beginning, and then we'll come back onto the field. Now, depending on what you are dealing with today, and we will work on one of the centers, the chakras, and I use a pendulum to find out which one to work with, left side, right side, and then it'll tell you as well what it represents. And then we start to work into the field, which goes up to 6 feet on both sides, behind you, front of you. And so the edge of the field is when you are conceived, and then as you come here is the present time. Okay? And so we start at the edge, the time of conception, and I will share with you what comes up. It can be in form of reflection, it can be a certain age, what is holding, that's how the field talks. And I will keep reflecting to you. So what you have to do is two things. One is you'll do a specific breathing so that you allow the process to release, because you may, when I say, well, you are 4-year-old and this happened or that happened, it may reflect something for you. And you bring that aspect in, and then with the breath, you release it, and I will release also with the tuning fork with you. And we continue till the present moment. We'll see what comes up, okay? So two things you do: bring it into your awareness, and then do the breath. The breath is a bit specific. You breathe in through your nose deeply, and imagine that the light or energy is coming into filling your chest, and then you release from your mouth, and imagine you're basically passing it through your feet into Mother Earth. So you're just doing this. Okay, deep breath. And I will tell you, and then you can do it at the time that you're ready to do that, okay? And sometime when it becomes very heavy, I may also tell you something like, and then you release, okay? So here we go, okay? So we start below the feet, and then we go to the top of the head, and then into the field, okay? Here we go. So I will use 144 hertz to open below the feet and top of the head, and use 175 for then to work on the field. So here we go. We start from below the feet. So I'm now pointing below your feet, to your feet, opening the channel, backbone to the top of your head. Take a breath. Okay, take a breath and feel yourself grounding to Mother Earth. So I'm going to the top of the head to open the channel and link to the divine. There's some resistance there, so take a breath. So now I'm pointing to the top of your head, opening the channel through your backbone down through your feet. to Mother Earth. It gets blocked into the sixth center, the third eye. Take a breath. And there you go. Okay, so now I'm going to run a pendulum and just focus on what you want for yourself. So start with the root, the first center, the second center, third center. Yeah, it's back to the heart center. Yeah, it wants us to work on the heart center. We are talking about loss today. And I'm going to change on the left side. So what does it represent from a biofield chart point of view? It basically represents sadness, grief, loss, which is what we are working today. So I will start at the time of conception on the edge of the heart center, which is about 6 feet on your left. And then we'll work it through. And whatever comes up, I'll let you know as we go there. Okay, here we go. And now change the tuning fork 174 hertz. I'm on the edge. Take a breath. This is a point of your conception when you came into the world. Oh, yeah, it goes straight into the second center, behind the navel. It's more about fear. The word I'm hearing is survival. Am I going to be here? Can I survive this life? Some concern. Gently take a breath. And just acknowledge this new life that's coming in. Let him or her know that everything will be okay. So just send love to this little life, the one cell, two cells that are there, which is the beginning of you. Just send light. And your assurance. Okay, ready to move on. About 4.5 months into pregnancy, there's a lot of pain in the left side heart. So some form of loss that has actually been experienced probably by the parents, one of them, both of them. That is sitting heavily on your soul as if you have taken the burden. So take a breath and see if you can allow it to be released. Comes from either father or form of authority in life. It's feeling heavy in the head. Just take a breath. Okay, so now I'm at the birth. Birth is always, there's always a lot of distortion, a lot of noise there, because coming into the world, the doctors, there is new world, so that normally the little one is very, very agitated. So just see if you can hold the little one coming into the world, send love to the parents and to whoever is around. Especially hold the little one. He or she needs to know that it will be safe. Yeah. That was a clear sound. Stay with that. Okay, very quickly. So 2 years old. And it's going through some challenges. Very heavy in the heart. So probably sadness from something that has happened. Or couldn't be with the little one, 2 years old, or around as well. Because they absorb. So he's asking to work using another tuning fork to clear it up. Take a breath. And you can do there's a lot of constriction in the heart, left side. So 22-year-old. Can be 23, but in that range. So see where it brings you. Is going into the left shoulder, so unable to speak your truth. Yeah, very strongly. Or express what you want. An expression can be in the form of profession, but it can be also in form of choices. Unable to do that. It's taking to about 4 years ago. So 2020, an inability to express is flared up. It's really there and going into the shoulder. So not able to go for what you want for yourself, blocking yourself, completely blocked. Yeah. So take a deep breath and okay, so now I'm in the zone, which is what your mother, this is because you're on the left side, so what your mother went through in her lifetime, especially her young age, that has come into your lifetime. So this is a burden of your mom. Yeah, a lot of fear. I mean, it goes straight into fear. And so see if you can send love to your mother. This is coming from very early childhood of your mother, what she went through. And she was unable to express as well. Okay, so now I'm on top of your heart, and we are going to release whatever came up, whatever you brought in, out into the field. Take a breath. Yeah, give yourself permission to let it go. Okay, so we are going to start closing in to allow it to integrate for the next 72 hours, whatever you have done. Keep your system into a safe place as you process. I'm going to surround you with a cocoon of 528 hertz. Now take a moment to reflect on whatever has surfaced today. The burden with the weight of loss and the part in denial, and acknowledge their presence and the courage it took for you to explore them. Sit with this awareness for a moment. Connecting deeply with these parts and honoring their roles they play in your life. And imagine sending a warm, soothing light to both these parts. filling them with compassion and understanding. Let them know that they are seen, appreciated, and no longer need to act alone. And now visualize these parts reintegrating into your whole self, finding balance and working together harmoniously. They no longer need to pull you in different directions. Take a deep breath now, feeling this sense of integration and peace settle through your body. And when you're ready, you can gently open your eyes. And if you would like, you can allow your body to do whatever it wants. Get up, walk, shake it up.